We're now going to be looking at slope of a line, and to start out we need our definition. So the slope of a line passing through the distinct points x1, y1, so that just means the first x coordinate and the first y coordinate of a given point, and the second point x2, y2, is given by the formula m, which is standing for our slope, is equal to the change in y. That's what that triangle symbol means, the change in y over the change in x. Well, change is determined by subtraction, so the change in y is equal to y2 minus y1. Change in x is x2 minus x1. Now notice that the x is in the denominator, so that means that x2 minus x1 cannot equal 0, otherwise the slope is not defined. Now our slope formula could also be found in one other way. So slope could also be determined by taking the first y coordinate and then subtracting the second y coordinate, as long as we also start with the first x coordinate and subtract the second x coordinate. So we have to make sure that the coordinates of our points are matched up. Example, determining slope by examination. So we're looking at this and we're going to notice that the change in y, so how we're going up or down. So the change in y, well, we are going down 3 units, so that is -3, so down 3. And then the change in x is changing by +4, because as x is going to the right, we're going an increase of 4, but y is increasing by -3. So our slope is -3 over +4. Another way to write that is we can bring that negative out front, so -3 over +4, and notice that the slope is negative. So the slope is negative, which correlates to the fact that this line is falling. So as x is increasing, y is decreasing. This line is falling. Our next example is actually determining slope by the formula. So please remember that our formula for slope is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So there are a lot of things that we're actually going to handle in this problem for review. First, our y2 is our second y value, so that is -7, minus y1 is our first y value, so that is 0, over x2 is +1, minus our x1 is negative. We need the minus and we need the negative symbol, -5/2. A lot of arithmetic work in this problem. So remember, our videos are our pre-work. They're all of the things that should be review, but also things that I want to make sure that we're understanding, so that we're really cleaning up any gaps in your previous knowledge so that you're very strong with your math work. So the first thing I'm going to notice is -7 minus 0 is just -7. Secondly, I'm going to notice that in our denominator, we have a fraction. So in order to perform this subtraction, I need to get a common denominator. The other thing I'm going to notice is we have a subtraction of a negative, so that actually becomes addition of the positive. So our common denominator between 1 and 5/2, our least common denominator, is 2. So 1 is equivalent to what over 2? Another way to ask that question is what divided by 2 is equal to 1? And the answer there is 2. So 2 divided by 2 is equivalent to 1. And that is what we need in order to add these two fractions. So 2 halves plus 5 halves is what we need. So now we have m is equal to -7 over 2 halves plus 5 halves. Now that we have common denominators, we simply add the numerators. So 2 plus 5 is 7, and this is now over 2. And this is now what we have known as a complex fraction. And so some of you might know this phrase, keep, change, and flip. And this is what we use when we have a complex fraction. And a complex fraction is a fraction within a fraction. So notice we have a fraction. Our main fraction bar is right here. But then in the denominator, we have a fraction as well. And so what we're going to do to simplify this is we're going to keep the -7, but we're going to change the division to multiplication, and then we're going to flip the entire denominator, or reciprocate the denominator, so that becomes 2 over 7. And very nicely, our 7's cancel, because this 7 is essentially in the numerator and this 7 is in the denominator, and so that cancels as 1, and -1 times 2 gives us a slope of -2. Our question, find the slope using the slope formula of the line passing through the points -3, -2, and 2, 5.